Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast with your host, Sana. Today, we are thrilled to have Sally Ivester, also known as the Corporate Whisperer. Sally is the mastermind behind your first corporate job and an expert in guiding early career professionals through the often tricky and unspoken corporate landscape. A first generation professional herself, Sally learned the hard way how important your first job can be. And she's here to share the strategies she's developed to help others not just survive but thrive in their first corporate roles. Whether it's mastering office politics, navigating feedback, or cultivating the right mindset, Sally's no nonsense advice will help you fast track your success and reach your goals. So, listeners, let's get ready and dive deep into this interesting and exciting conversation with Sally. Sally, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute honor to have you with us.
Oh, Sana, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here to dive into these really cool topics with your listeners.
Lovely, lovely. So, what inspired you to create your first corporate job, and what gaps in career advice were you hoping to fill out for especially early career professionals?
That's a great question. So, just a little bit of background. My parents are Chinese immigrants, and so we migrated to the United States. And they're figuring it out as they go. They have a very different lifestyle and a very different mindset just coming up as immigrants. And it's very much like be thankful for what you have and like you just do your work. And during their time when they were working, a lot of it was you put in the hours, you put in the time, and then your
Mhm.
career also grows. Maybe not as
Yeah.
quickly, but at least like you have a decent paycheck and it continues to be something.
Right.
The reason that I created this is when I actually started my corporate job, I stumbled. And look, I worked my butt off to get into a really great college, so an Ivy League school. Then I
Mhm.
got a great job out of college, and you would think I would be like set up for success, right? Like I nailed my interviews, all of that.
Yes.
But what I realized is that the corporate job not only has unspoken rules for what it takes to actually be successful, the playbook actually isn't even written, right? Like it's stuff that you don't know because when you go on the website for your company, there's not a lot of resources out there for how can you actually be successful. There's a lot of stuff that teaches you how to be average in my mind. Like, how do you be someone who meets expectations? But
Mhm.
there's not a lot of stuff out there that tells you how do you exceed expectations or transform expectations. And that's really what I want to share back. And the reason I think all of that is so important is because at the end of the day, I really want to help people figure out how do they reach their goals faster, not just career goals, but actual goals. And for
Mhm.
some of us, the corporate job is like a pathway to make more money or to like build a reputation that
Yeah.
then allows you to do something different. Or for some of us, it could be you just want to climb the corporate ladder. But
Yeah.
whatever it would be, like when you navigate and you ace your first job, then your second job, the
Mhm.
faster you do that, the faster you are to reaching your goals. And also the faster you are to building more skills that like are going to be applicable no matter what you do. A lot of what I talk about, it's all about these practical skills. And it's a lot of it's just sort of based in the psychology mindset, but there are things that you don't know. Like how do you actually create a one-on-one agenda document? Right? Like you don't go to college and learn that kind of stuff, but it becomes incredibly important. It positions you as a thought leader. It helps you manage your manager. It helps you take feedback. It helps
Mhm.
you talk about your work in a really strategic way too. But none of us really know how do you do it. And instead of flying by the seat of our pants, how do we just give each other these resources and these templates that not only myself I've created, but also those who are even more successful than me, where I've stolen with pride, right? Stealing with pride, I think, is a huge thing in a career where nothing's original, right? Just because you made a slide doesn't mean it's the first time it's ever been made. But it's about how do you learn from others and how do you package it up so that you can adapt what they do for your particular projects. And that's really what I want to come back and teach people on.
Absolutely true. Absolutely. Very relatable. And I think the kind of expectations socially, or especially in, interacting with people,
Yeah.
navigating through those first, days induction, and then learning to set, or, meet the set standards. That itself is a huge, huge task to complete, to accomplish. So
You're
it
totally
really
right.
is something very, very required for the ones who are just entering the corporate world for the first time.
Yeah, and Sana, you're totally right.
Uh-huh.
Like a lot of that kind of stuff is unspoken, right? And I think the unspoken stuff or the secret stuff, that's actually going to be where you trip up. And so I almost wonder, like, is that the muscle that we build of how do we figure out what are these secret expectations? How do you communicate and how do you ask these questions where you're not too pushy, but you're also not someone who's a pushover? And I think that delicate balance is one that it's hard to balance, to be totally honest. So I totally agree with your point, Sana.
Great, great. Now, you mentioned mindset in the initial part of the discussion, and
Yeah.
I believe it's very, very crucial in your early career. And we don't even know, we don't even realize that it is a crucial part. At least I did not when I first started my I first entered into the corporate world. So can you explain why having a positive attitude and a growth mindset can make or break your corporate journey?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question, Sana, and I'm so glad that you asked it. I mean, I think nowadays everything comes down to mindset. But more importantly, I think it comes down to two components of mindset as it relates to the corporate job. The
Mhm.
first component of mindset is like, do you actually think that you're going to be successful? Right? Like, do you actually believe that? Or do you believe that like you're going to get bad projects? Or you believe that you're going to have a bad manager? Or do you believe that you're going to have a bad presentation? Because if you believe that kind of stuff, then that kind of stuff is going to happen, right? But if you believe good things happen to you, that you're
Uh-huh.
going to nail projects, that you're going to give a kick butt presentation, that kind of thinking will also help you succeed. You see athletes do this all the time. You see a lot of people visualize catching the ball or scoring the touchdown in American football
Yeah.
or playing basketball and like making that 3-pointer just as the buzzer beats. And that type of visualization also works in the corporate job. But really importantly, it comes down to like, do you actually think you're actually going to be successful?
Mhm.
Because if you don't believe in yourself, then you're going to show up differently. And when you show up differently, that type of energy is contagious. So you should
Mhm.
maximize that to your benefit and have positive energy and actually believe in yourself. So that's one component. The
Hmm.
other component with mindset, I think, and I'd love to get your perspective on this, on both of these different types of things,
Mhm.
is are you someone who thinks about yourself or are you someone who thinks about others? And I personally think if you want to be someone who receives a ton of value or someone who gets to be promoted or someone who's seen as top talent, are you
Mhm.
giving top talent value back? Right? Like, are you someone who's delivering a ton of value and making these huge like these non-achievable things happen? Because if
Mhm.
you're someone who thinks about the company or about your manager or about others and you want to help them do better, then
Uh-huh.
that's always going to help you. But if you're going in and you're saying, hey, I want the promotion, I want the sexy project,
Uh-huh.
like that's so self-centered, right? Like no one really wants to just help you. You haven't given them a reason to. But if
Okay.
you say, I want to help Sana achieve her
Uh-huh.
next goal, or I want to help Sana maximize her presentation, so I'm going to take notes during it.
Hmm.
That's providing value. And
Hmm.
then Sana, you yourself, you're going to provide value back to me. And so it's all about like how do you provide value first before
Mhm.
you're expecting value provided to you. And I think if we're constantly in this me mindset, then
Mhm.
you're going to be someone who doesn't have the right relationships at work. You're going to be someone who's not seen as collaborative. And so people aren't going
Yeah.
to want to work with you. And
Yeah.
those types of things are going to really hurt you within a corporation. And I would say, like, when it comes to mindset, just to sort of tee it up really quickly, it's
Mhm.
really what do you believe in yourself? And then
Hmm.
the second part of it is like, Are you a me person, or are you someone who thinks about others and will want to provide value to others? But I'd love to get your perspective, Son, on that.
No, I believe, collaboration, I think it's one of the skills, especially when you are, kind of analyzed or assessed based on your people managing skills or having a team spirit or, especially in team building sessions. The more you
Yeah.
mentor, maybe there are people who are joining after you, you mentor with them, you interact with them, you also, collaborate and communicate effectively with your managers or maybe skip level managers. It's always a two door way. It's
Yeah.
it's never just a one door.
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right. And you know what? It's not just even professional relationships,
Yeah.
but it's also like with your own personal
Yes.
family or your personal
Yes.
partner or your friends or anything, right? And so, and that's really what I talk about is like none of this. Look, if you were to Google, hey, what does it take to be successful? There's probably going to be 10 different topics that I can also talk about. But I
Mm,
think what's missing is like the practicality of it. Like, how do you actually do that? What do you say, right? Like, how do you show up? What are the templates and the resources that you can use? And that's the type of stuff that I want to bring people because I think theory is worthless, right? It's about the application of that theory that matters. And that's where I feel like there's a gap in the market.
mm. That is true. That is true. Okay, now I believe this is a very, very interesting aspect office politics. I have been affected in my first job itself by office politics, and that time
Yeah.
I didn't even realize about it, how it affected me and how just exactly it happened. So I want to know your perspective on this. It can be intimidating for those just starting out. So, what are some key strategies you would recommend for navigating office dynamics and making a positive impression?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there are a few things to start off, Sana, that I think that you just need to have, right? Like if you do this, you will be above the rest. The first one is just to have a positive attitude. Asana, I don't know how you feel, but things happen, right? Priorities change, like budgets change, your manager changes, all of this stuff. But if you're someone who's always complaining and moaning, then no
Mm-hmm.
one's going to want to work with you because you're negative energy.
True.
Cheekily, I call that Eeyore, right? From Winnie and the Pooh, but you don't want to be Eeyore. The second thing is just like someone who raises the energy of the room, someone who's a joy to be around, right? Like that when you come in, you're not just you're not just focused on yourself, but you're also like talking to others and asking about their day. And people
Mm-hmm.
really like that. And I think that's another component that you should think through. And then the last one is just really bare minimum. If you say you're going to do something,
Mm-hmm.
actually do it, right? Like a lot of people don't do that. They deliver not on time or they don't do things that they say they're going to do. But if you just do these three things, which is one, like say deliver what you say you're going to do, be a joy to be around and have a positive attitude, that like just immediately sets you off on the right foundation. Now the other component I would say is a lot of times there's like work gossip that you get involved in,
Yeah.
and what I would say here is like you don't want to do that. Like that is something that immediately labels you as a junior employee.
Yes.
You don't have the time, nor do you have the energy to get involved in work gossip. You want to be above that. Because if you get sucked up into this and you
Mm-hmm.
start talking badly about people, that's going to affect you.
Mm-hmm.
And these people, these relationships, they may be your future manager one day. They may be your future coworkers. They even may be giving you a referral 3 years down the line.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you build solid relationships built off of the value that you're creating, either because you are a great person to work with or you deliver amazing results. And that's what you want to speak. That's the type of reputation that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first thing that I would say if you're starting a corporate job is you also want to be listening more than you talk. And what I mean by that is you want to be able to ask and learn about other people on the team versus only talking about yourself. When you hear and see how other people play off of one another, you
Mm-hmm.
sort of see this invisible org chart show up. Who are the ones who have a ton of authority? Who
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that people may be looking to for feedback, even if they're not the most senior person in the room? And those are the types of people that you may want to be learning from. I like to call it your work tribe because these are then the individuals who you can either get feedback from or get tips from, or the best case scenario, they mentor you. And when you get mentored by these people who are successful or who are seen as these thought leaders, then you ultimately become one, right? There's a quote out there where you become, the person that you mentor becomes you. And that's what you want to be. the five people you spend the most time with. And
Yeah.
so, do you want to spend time with people who are like work gossip people or people who are complainers? Because if you do, you're going to end up being one of them. Or do you want to spend time with people who are the top talent, the ones who are thinking differently? And it's not an idea of sucking up. It's more so how can you continually be better yourself? And if there are people out there who have skills you don't have, become friends with them because ultimately then you're going to learn from them. But that's like, those would be like my high level thoughts. Anna, I'd love to get your perspective too on this topic.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you because I have gone through these situations and I want to put out a warning that they never work in your favor. So it is
Yeah.
always to, again, if we circle back to our second question, it's always uh, the most effective way to be collaborative and always, try to have your network which inspires you, which gives out the positive vibes of interacting and getting mentored by the top talent because in the long
Mhm.
way it is going to help you in your career trajectory.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, 100%. And by the way, getting mentored by top talent might seem like, oh, you're getting micromanaged, right? Because you may show them some work and they may provide feedback and you're like, God, I have all this feedback to work on. But instead of seeing it as a negative, maybe
Mhm.
see it as a positive.
Yeah.
They invested their time in looking at your work. They have a different perspective of seeing things. And so how can you see and be gracious for what it is that they're doing and see like their point of view versus just being like, oh my God, I have more feedback to work on now. And I don't know how you feel, Sana, but sometimes like I faced this early on in my career where I was like, crap, like why do I have all this feedback? Like it's terrible. But I think if we change our mindset of people are actually investing their time and energy to give us good
Mhm.
feedback, then that is a different way that we're going to take it in and then we're going to act on it differently too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a very positive mindset to carry because these feedbacks, the learnings, they will take you for a very long way in your career trajectory as well as, help you in personal and professional growth as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right on that.
Lovely. So, my next question was on mistakes and feedback. So, how do you advise early career professionals to embrace mistakes and feedback without feeling discouraged or overwhelmed in high pressure corporate environment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is the biggest one, especially for high achievers,
Mhm.
right? And the mantra that I tell everyone all the time is I think B plus is the new A plus.
Mm.
And the reason I say this is because, especially if you're entering your first job or like your second job, you're
Mhm.
probably going to still be one of the more junior people. That means you are here to learn. And learning actually does mean making mistakes. Now, your ratio probably wants to be you do things right more so than you do things wrong, but you
Mhm.
got to make mistakes in order for you to be pushing boundaries. And you want to work for people who actually understand that too. So what I would say, Sana, is like this is sort of with the caveat that you actually have a great manager who can do that. And let's say you don't have a great manager. Well, then it comes down to how do you set expectations on what it is that you're doing? What is
Yeah.
it that you're looking to learn? And getting their feedback throughout the journey so that they feel like they can provide input. Because at the end of the day, it all sort of becomes like, how do you, I call it CYA, cover your butt, but it's like you want to be able to bring these types of people along on your journey and allow them to provide that feedback so that they don't feel as if you're catching them off guard.
True.
Now, when it comes to, I would say B plus is a new A plus, going back to sort of this quote, look, if you present work to someone, they're
Mhm.
naturally going to have feedback.
Yeah.
And so even if you put all of your like best effort towards something, you are still learning and we're all still learning. And people are constantly going to give you their perspectives. Some of
Mm.
those perspectives are good, some of them are bad. But if we think, hey, this is A plus work and it's perfect and nothing will change, that's the wrong mindset to go in. The work is I've worked my butt off. I am really proud of what I'm putting out there, but I know it could be better. I just don't know how it could be better, but I know it could be better. And that is B plus work. And if we constantly think that way, that builds our muscle. And that also helps us be more receptive when we do hear feedback.
Mm.
And here's like a tangible example, right? Like, and this applies even to people who are very senior. There are many people at my company who are VPs or senior directors, and they're presenting work to the CMO,
Mhm.
the chief marketing officer. They would expect, especially at like a VP level, oh yeah, like I'm delivering perfect work. There's going to be no feedback.
Yeah.
But the CMO, of course, is going to provide feedback because either they see things that the VPs don't see because of their level. They can see things that like other equivalent to them type of perspectives at like the chief legal officer or the chief tech officer.
Mm.
Or they're going to see things where they can connect the dots between different VPs. And that's going to provide new perspectives that make your work better. And these are VPs then who are receiving this, right? Not just junior employees. And so we should just realize that feedback is going to come. You can never avoid it. And if any of you have kids, you know that like it comes all the time. You get told feedback like, I hate your food that you made all the time. And so if we don't start building this muscle now as someone who's like early on in their career, it's just going to hurt us. So we need to start building the muscle of receiving feedback and being able to act on feedback because that's really where you're going to stand out. So the first step is just accept it, right? Feedback is going to come, understand that it's going to come. And the second part that differentiates you is not in the type of feedback you receive, but in how fast you act on it and how thoroughly you act on it. The better you are when it comes to receiving this feedback and implementing the feedback, that is going to make you stand out and that's going to build your reputation at work. That's my perspective, Sana, but I would love to get yours too.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Initially, it may feel overwhelming, or maybe some sort of negative thinking, but in the long way, again, accepting and working on those feedbacks, and again communicating with your superiors or maybe your mentors or your team members as well. I think it is again another brilliant way of collaboration and teamwork.
Yeah, I totally agree with you 100%. Thank you for asking that question, Sana.
Great. Another aspect, which may be difficult for some early career professionals is the networking part. How
Mm.
important do you think networking for career advancement is, and what are some practical tips for building meaningful connections in a corporate environment?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Look, your network is your net worth. And you've probably heard that quote before, but your network is what's going to get you the next opportunity. I said this a little bit earlier, but I'll repeat it again. You become the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you spend time with people who are accelerating in your career, who are taking on new projects and really pushing themselves, then you're more likely to be one of those people too. And that helps you just accelerate faster, whether it's climbing that corporate ladder or being someone who just wants to like reach a certain type of money threshold and then do something else, either retire, go back to school, or anything like that. I think you need to be constantly networking, but networking is not like this cheesy, oh, hi, I'm Sally, like I like dogs or anything like that. It is to be genuinely interested in people. And what I would do is I would find people that you want to be, right? Like people who are either one step ahead of you or people who have a skill that you particularly want. And I would try to figure out how can I be better friends with them. Either they mentor me, either I get their inputs on things, either they give me resources. And that honestly is networking too. And those are types of things where you can learn, but also those people, they're probably going to progress really fast in their career. They're probably going to take on new projects. And now you have a network of people who are top talent. And when they go to another company, maybe they will be a referral for you, or they're going to try to grab you to go to that company too. And those are the types of things that really work out in today's environment where like there's so many people applying to jobs. And so if your goal and your strategy is to like apply to a job based off of a resume, that's not going to stand out anymore. You need some special sauce. And oftentimes that special sauce comes in the people that you meet and the people that you know. Networking is also not just about jobs. It's about learning, right? It's about how can I be interested in someone's perspective on something and then I learn and be better about things. And so if we broaden that definition, that also helps us. So first step, figure out like, who do you actually like? Who do you want to admire and who do you want to learn from? And that would be a natural place for you to start off because you're interested in that already versus finding people who are progressing quickly or who you just don't like, who they may be just total buttholes, right? If you don't like them, then you're never going to be able to authentically network and learn from them. So ignore that path.
Great, great. I have so many questions, Sally, but due to time constraint,
I
we
hear
have
you.
to wrap it up. However, if our listeners, especially the ones who are into their, who have started in their corporate world, or maybe they are about to, if they want to connect with you or access your first corporate job program, how do they do that?
Yeah, great question. You can find me at hisallyivester.com. So it's Hi, Sally, Sally. Ivester is V as in Victor, ESTER.com. Or you can email me at hisallyivester@gmail.com. And in it, you'll find my course, but also a lot of free resources like my free newsletter, as well as like free templates and resources that I give, including a free career starter pack checklist to just help you nail the first few weeks of your job. I'm always here to help. I want to provide value for people, especially because I wish I had this when I started my corporate job. And if you're in the same position as me, like I'd love to connect.
Lovely. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes for all of our listeners. And Sally, thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights and pragmatic, actionable strategies with all of us today. And I believe for anyone entering the corporate world or looking to advance their career as well, your advice on mindset, feedback, and navigating the corporate maze, it's truly game changing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Sana. You are an excellent question asker, and I love the builds that you've made to all of these different types of questions and insights. And I really appreciate the time. I'm excited to come back, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sally. And listeners, thank you to all of you for tuning into this episode of the Mindful Living podcast. Don't forget to check out the show notes along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform to connect with Sally or check out her program, Your First Corporate Job, and for more guidance on fast tracking your career and reaching your goals. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe to the Mindful Living podcast and stay tuned for more conversations like this that will help you live and work with intention. Until next time, stay mindful and keep moving forward.